Hi everyone, Melissa here. In today's video, I am going to talk about circumstances and why it is time for you to stop letting them boss you around and how to navigate circumstances so that you get everything you want consistently. You manifest what you want consistently. So if you're struggling with circumstances, this video is for you. And before I get into it, just a reminder, we're still giving away a free course, How to Find Your Blocks to Manifest Anything Fast, and you can find the link for that in the description of this video. Okay, let's talk about circumstances. What are they and why it's time to stop letting them boss you around? Okay, you have probably heard the phrase, circumstances don't matter. It's a really common phrase in the law of assumption, law of attraction community, and people throw it around a lot. And what does it really mean? Yeah, but why don't circumstances matter? You know, it's not always explained very well. So here we go. What is a circumstance? A circumstance is just a thing. It's something that shows up in your physical reality for you to experience. It might be something that happened. It might be something that somebody said. It might be something that somebody did. It might be somebody that somebody didn't say or didn't do, or something that didn't happen. That is a circumstance. It is an event. It is a thing. On its own, it is meaningless. It is just a thing. Okay? Why doesn't a circumstance matter? Because you are the one in charge of giving that thing meaning in your reality. You are the one in charge of deciding what is true about that thing in your reality, which results in you getting to experience more things, more circumstances that will prove to you what you have decided is true about them. So an easier way of saying that is circumstances don't matter because you're the boss of them. You are the boss of circumstances. Even if something shows up and it's like so shocking and you're trying to think, well, how the heck did I create that? I didn't want that, and that showed up. It doesn't matter because it's what you do with that circumstance in your mind that determines what happens next. Okay? You are the one that gives life to the circumstances. You're the one that creates what those circumstances mean to you, what story they mean to you, what evidence you're getting from them. You are choosing the evidence that the circumstances is providing you. So that's why it's tricky when you look at the 3D and decide that that's your evidence, because the 3D is just a reflection and it's meaningless until you give it meaning. So your evidence should come here first. You decide the evidence in your mind first, and then circumstances push out. And because you've already made the assumptions in your mind about what's true, those circumstances seem to match and be proving you right. You know, they're showing you that evidence, but they're constantly shifting and changing because your assumptions are constantly shifting and changing. So circumstances don't matter because you're in charge of what they mean. You're in charge of what happens next. You're in charge of if they work in your favor or not, or if they're aligned with what you want or not, or if they mean that what you want isn't possible or true for you. You're the one in charge of that. So when you're deciding that a circumstance is bad and it doesn't match what you want, and it means you can't have what you want, it means that what you want isn't true, it means that what you want isn't possible for you, all you're doing is looking at something that happened, deciding that's the story that's true about it, perpetuating in that, marinating in that, making yourself feel bad over it, and repeating that over and over in your brain. And then pretty soon, every circumstance you see, you're going to see through that lens. You're experiencing every circumstance through the lens of your assumptions and beliefs. So when you change your assumptions and beliefs, the circumstances have to change because the lens you're looking through them at changes. Your perspective on them changes. Your perception of them changes. So they're forever changing to align with your perception. So that's why when we change our story, we change our life. We manifest constantly. We're either manifesting what we want or we're manifesting what we don't. And if your perspective on a circumstance is, if you're coming at it from the perspective of, I don't like this equals what I don't want, that's what you're going to keep manifesting, more of what you don't want, because that's the only way you're seeing it. That's the possibility that you're seeing. That's what's going to become available to you in your experience until you change the lens you're looking at it through, until you change your perspective on it. So take some pressure off yourself. You know, we are human. We go through ups and downs in life. Good things happen, bad things happen. But the trick is, when something shows up in your experience, when a circumstance you don't like shows up in your experience, if you react initially, that's okay. It's what you do next that matters. You know, it's okay, I see this, I don't like it, it made me feel really bad, it scared me, it made me upset, it made me feel hurt, it made me feel angry, it made me feel rejected, whatever it was that it made you feel. Okay, acknowledge that. Now, what do I wish was true instead? What's my ideal? What's my end result? What's my end goal? What do I want instead of what showed up? And then from there, you start to create your new story. You start to affirm that your new story is the truth. That even though and this is an affirmation I use all the time in my life, it helps me so much, especially with circumstances that seem like they're really not what I want. Even though I can't see it right now, this is working in my favor, because I always get what I want, and everything is always working in my favor to get me to my manifestations. So that helps take the pressure off of figuring out exactly why the circumstance is helping you. You don't have to know why. You just have to know that it is. You just have to know that what you want is true, in spite of whatever circumstance is showing up, in spite of what is making you feel bad. You know, because if something's making you feel bad, it's because you're thinking about it from the perspective that it's not something you want. It's not what you prefer. It's not what you want. So that leads to bad feelings. So use those things that show up, those circumstances, use them as feedback. If you're not seeing movement, that's also a circumstance. If you're looking at how long something's taking, time is also a circumstance. It's just a thing. It's neither good nor bad. You're just choosing to decide that it's bad because you're deciding something is taking too long, because you're deciding that what you want isn't true yet, because you're still looking at it through the lens of, I don't have it yet, it's not true yet. It's not true yet. Right? So literally everything is a circumstance, everything. And it's your job to decide what it means to you and create the narrative about it that serves you and that aligns with your desires, because then you're just consistently going to be seeing circumstances that make you feel good because they're going to match what you want, because you're always assuming that everything does. And even if something shows up and it catches you a little bit off guard and you react a little bit, doesn't matter. You can be an indifferent observer of your circumstances and decide, okay, you know what? Face value, did not like that, reacted to that. That's okay. This is what's true instead. I always get what I want. Let's do some examples. Let's say it's raining outside, okay? And you see that rain and you're like, oh my gosh, this is wonderful. Now the flowers are going to get watered. The grass is going to be green. You know, it's going to be so cool outside. It's going to be a really nice sleep because the air will be cool. I love the way rain smells and sounds. Well, this is a great cozy day to watch a movie under a blanket, okay? That's you looking at rain, which on its own doesn't mean anything. You're looking at it from the perspective of, oh, this works in my favor. This is a great thing. I prefer this. So thoughts come up that support that story, and then your circumstances are going to continue to unfold to support that narrative. Now, you could also look at that rain and decide, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing that ever happened. Now all my plans are going to get ruined. I can't do anything outside. My shoes are going to get muddy. My hair is going to get ruined. It's going to be too cold out. There's going to be bugs. Now there's going to be thunder and lightning. This is horrible. So from that perspective, you're looking at the rain, which again means nothing until you assign it the meaning of, this is not what I want. This is no fun. I don't like this. And so thoughts are going to pop up that match. Yeah, you're right. This isn't fun. You don't like this. This is no good. We don't want this, right? So that narrative is going to continue to play out, and your circumstances are going to continue to look like they mean that because that's the lens you're looking at it through. So what lens are you going to put on today? How are you going to filter your thoughts? That's what you should be asking yourself. And really, when something shows up that you don't like, try to stop yourself, and when it makes you, if you're feeling bad, ask yourself, what am I believing is true about this right now? What am I making this mean? What am I assuming is true about this thing that happened, this thing that didn't happen or hasn't happened yet, this thing this person said, this thing this person did, this thing this person didn't do or didn't say? Any time you're giving meaning to that, you're conditioning it with your assumptions. So your manifestations are just going to align with that narrative, with those assumptions. So I really just wanted to do this video because I wanted to remind you that the circumstances are not the boss. Don't let them push you around. You are the boss of the circumstances. You might not be specifically selecting every single thing that happens to you, but what you are selecting is what happens next, what you're going to make that mean, what's going to come out of that circumstance, what's really true about that circumstance. And that's where your power lies, because that's what leads to your manifestations. That's what changes your circumstances, because you see it from a different perspective. When you see your circumstances through a different lens, that's what makes your manifestations visible to you. Something that you think is impossible cannot be visible to you because you don't perceive the possibility of it. But as soon as you start to perceive the possibility of it, more thoughts are going to come up that align with that, and your manifestation is going to show up. So when you're reacting negatively to circumstances, you're shutting out the possibility of what you want by assuming that it's not true yet or possible yet for you. So, another way to say that is, when something happens, what conclusion are you immediately jumping to? Are you getting defensive? Are you making something mean that you're not good enough, or you're not valued, or you're not appreciated, or you're rejected, or you're poor, or you don't have enough, or what conclusion are you jumping to? And if it doesn't support what you want, you got to change that conclusion. You got to change that assumption, that story, and just looking at my notes here, I wrote a few things down. Another thing I wanted to touch on is, we are creatures of habit, and our brains like repetition. So if something's been going on that we don't like, we've created a story about it. And there's probably a few layers to that story. And, we like to replay the past in our mind. And sometimes that's painful memories and things that make us feel bad and things that we regret. But again, here, you have a choice. You have a choice to keep replaying that unwanted, frustrating story that makes you feel bad and seeing things from that perspective through that lens. Or you can decide now that the past doesn't matter. This is what's true instead. And then you go to your new story, and then you start to see circumstances through that perspective. And guess what? That's when what you want manifests, because now it's available. It's always been available to you, but now it's accessible. It's visible to you because you're putting it in your awareness. You've got the perspective, and you're perceiving that it's true for you and possible for you. When you're perceiving something is not possible and is not true for you, you've kicked it out of your awareness. You're only aware of it not being so, of it not being true. So that's what's going to have to keep showing up for you. So I hope this video, I know this video helped you, because, circumstances are not the boss. They're just a thing. Don't let them push you around ever again. Ever again. This is your moment to start taking your power back, and you can do it. You can manifest whatever you want, no matter the circumstances, and in spite of circumstances that you don't prefer. Okay? All right. So I think that's it for this one. If you guys have any video topics you want to see, please put that in the comments. If you have a success story about how you successfully navigated a seemingly negative circumstance and got what you want, manifested what you want, please post that in the comments, because it's super inspiring and it helps everyone, and it's really fun to read. And if you need help figuring out how to navigate your specific circumstances, change your story, start to see them through a different lens, I would love to help you. I'm available for one-on-one coaching. You can find the link for that in the description of this video. And I also have some awesome courses on self-concept and money and some affirmation bundles. You can find that link below. And I think that's it for this one. So I intend you have an amazing rest of your week, and I'll see you in the next one.